In a world filled with sharks, bears, and killer bees, one man is brave enough to stay indoors to bring you the latest in gaming, movie, and pop culture news. That man is Tom Awesome, and this is the Outside is Overrated podcast.
Hello and welcome to Outside is Overrated, a grown-up podcast about gaming and nerd pop culture. On this podcast, we discuss video games, books, TV shows, movies, and board games. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Tom Sadlachik, and we've got a great show lined up for you. Today is our annual Director episode. Each year, we pick a director, discuss their feature films, and then rank their entire catalog. Joining me for this rather hoarse discussion today is the ever-fancy Billy Parrott.
Good morning.
And Mrs. OiO, Phoenix Sadlachik.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, guys. We'll start with a little preface. We were supposed to record yesterday. I was sick. We pushed it back a day. The benefit of waiting an extra day is now Phoenix is sick, too.
Well, I guess I am getting sick. Sore throat.
So between the two of us, we have 6 drinks on the desk with us. We have our coffee, of course, because we're recording in the morning. We have water. I have Breathe Easy tea. What kind of tea did you settle on?
Throat coat.
Yeah, perfect. So, Billy, I hope you also have 3 drinks, or you're going to be missing out, my friend.
I have my coffee, so I'm 2 more that I need to match up with you guys. So
yeah, just
see what I can find.
Go get 2 more coffees, my dude. So, Billy, you usually do our director show with us. What is the favorite movie you've seen since we recorded this episode last year?
That's a great question. I was thinking about this the other night. Did you guys get a chance to watch Sinners with Michael B. Jordan at all?
No, not yet.
The only new movie we watched in the last year was Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So still within the year, at least. That's nice. Sinners was great. Old-timey vampire-esque movie starring Michael B. Jordan playing a set of twins. He won the Oscar for it. Great music, great scenes. I won't go too into it just for spoilers and stuff like that, but if you guys get a chance, it's definitely not for kids. So something to watch when they go down to bed for sure. But I gotta say, out of every movie that I've watched over the year, that might be my favorite one that I have seen so far.
Michael B. Jordan is interesting. Not only did he play 2 characters in that film, he's played 2 characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's true, yes, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Billy, I saw the trailers for the one with Leonardo in it. We haven't watched it. I'm intrigued by it. I can't remember what it's called, One Battle or something.
Yeah, One Battle After, and I can't remember either. But yes, I've seen it on streaming, have not picked up and watched it yet, but it got a lot of buzz and some awards at the Oscars, so I'll definitely have to pick that one up too.
Yeah, it looks interesting, and I was surprised it swept the Oscars in ways, so I was just like, didn't seem like an Oscar type film, because usually it's dramas like Sinners or something, but yeah.
Right.
So as somebody who loves movies, Phoenix, our movie consumption has gone way down since we had multiple kids. How big a hole is that for you? Because I'm still playing video games, still doing the podcast, homie. What kind of void is that for you?
It's been kind of nice that we're not going to theaters, because if we went to theaters, which is my favorite place to go see movies, I'd be like, oh, we got to go see this. We got to go see this, But because I haven't been teased about films I want to see. So,
Are you saying that I tease you about films you want to see?
No. But, it's been kind of, I'm not putting on the internet watching trailers, I'm missing out. So it'll be nice to catch up on stuff. We'll have to get a list from Billy or someone on films that we've missed for the
last 7 years. Yeah, there's been a couple
that we should try to catch up on that may have fallen through the cracks. It's been nice when people suggest movies to us because, like Casey, he gave us a suggestion. We watched a few of his films and we found one that we really loved.
No Country for Old Men?
Yeah, is that what it's called?
I think so. Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, and then, it's been nice when people will suggest, movies to us so that we can sort of pick through and figure out what to watch, so.
Yeah, so the summary is, Billy, we're going to check out Sinners, so if it sucks, I'm going to have a heated text message for you.
I hope you do.
Phoenix, we've been working on a lot of storage solutions for board games. I recently tasked you with decorating our deck boxes. How's that project going?
Well, I decided to tackle one, so we have...
Like a deck box is just a big, long cardboard box with literally nothing on it that you put bunches of cards into. And it's a great way to like organize for games that have a lot of cards. They often don't fit back in the box when you sleeve them and protect them for the long term. So I was looking at all these big empty boxes like, well, I could write the name of the game on it, but that's got no heart.
Yeah.
I'm married to an artist. Like, can you do something here, honey?
Well, I did try my first one, the Terraforming Mars. It turned
it turned out awesome.
Turned out better than I thought. So.
You did like the hexes on one side of it. You did the title on another side of it. Like that box has a lot of character, and that's something that like no other like board gamer can replicate.
Well, maybe there is someone, but
nope, there's no one.
But it'll be fun. I'm not sure if I want to tackle Boss Monsters next or Imperial Assault. I'm not sure. So.
Well, which art is going to be harder, Star Wars or like 8-bit?
I don't know. I'm thinking of tackling 8-bit first. Dungeon 8-bit and see how that turns out.
Yeah, you're going to crush it. You're a very talented artist. Before we jump into our main show on director Jon Favreau, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Premier Health. Check out their website at premierhealthmn.com. That's premierhealthmn, as in Minnesota.com.
Since we're doing a movie show, and I was thinking of asking, I love going to the theater to see movies. It's probably one of my favorite ways. But I know streaming has created such a ease and comfort for people to watch at home. I was just going to ask Billy, do you miss going to the theaters, or do you guys still go to the theaters anymore, or do you...
Yeah, I do miss it. There is something about going out, knowing that you're going to go see a movie and getting all the popcorn and everything ready. I know you can do that all at home, but I don't know. There's something about being with a collective audience too for big moments in movies that is just like, it's like going to see a show or a concert. You know what I mean? You're surrounded by other like-minded people who want to be there too. So there is something about the nostalgia of that being missed, but also pausing the movie to go to the bathroom is really nice when you're at home. You know what I mean? Like,
it is, yeah.
It's great, So there's something about that I miss. But there's also, I'm trying to think of just movies that have come out recently that I would have wanted to see. Like Dune would have been really great to see in the theaters, like at the IMAX. So I think if it's gonna be a out at the movies type of situation, it's got to be like a big blockbuster CGI. Big booming soundtrack type of movie to get me to go, because I mean, we all have 65 to 70-inch TVs these days with great sound systems, so it's a toss-up.
Well, I think the interesting thing about being in the theater is like everyone is invested. Like nobody's on their phones, like, and you're out of your comfort zone. You're not in the comfort of your own house. You can't multitask with other stuff. So I think that's really the beauty of going to the theater. That being said, I've always been a very frugal person. Going to the movies has never been like my top choice for how to spend my resources.
Yeah. I mean, my parents, they were somewhat big into the theaters in ways. They would do date night and stuff. But one of my favorite memories is because trailers, you only saw trailers when we were kids if you go to the movie theaters.
And you couldn't just go on the internet and look it up. Like, that was a big deal.
One of my favorite memories is my dad drug us. I think April and I were maybe 6 and 7. He's like, it's a movie about dinosaurs. It'll be fine. He's trying to tell my mom, it's okay. It's just dinosaurs. They love dinosaurs. And all of a sudden Jurassic Park is on. And it's all this big,
Yeah, the T-Rex is screaming at the overturned car.
Heck yes.
I truly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But my mom was sort of like, what did you drag the kids to? But... I kind of miss some of those memories as a kid. You just go into the movies and, you sort of have an idea what you might see, you might not, and with the kids.
Well, I think the girls will always remember going to Super Mario and pooping in the movie theater and leaving at the opening credits. I think that has been indelibly marked on them, honey.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's like, it's a bummer because I do miss trying to introduce them to the theaters because they're just not into movies right now. And we've tried, even with the Disney movies, but hopefully...
They love some K-pop Demon Hunters, and we brought them to that in the theater. That was a great experience.
And that was the only time we were able to, in ways, to get them to go.
Yeah, it's almost weird. It's like we have to get them accustomed to something at home, and then we can bring them to the theater. It's very contrary to how we grew up.
I know. It's just... Thinking about prepping for this show because of Jumanji and thinking about childhood and stuff, I just thought I would ask the question as far as made me miss the theaters and my memories of my parents bringing us to the theaters and stuff, and and our
Yeah.
kids just not really seeming that interested.
Yeah, different generations. And like, we didn't have tablets or streaming when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even have a VCR when I was little.
There's such a huge oversaturation of things that you can watch on streaming now that like the excitement of going to the theater has just, I don't know what it has done, but like you just have so much stuff available to you all the time that like going to the theater is like, a lot of people are like, well, why would I? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff here. Why would I go spend? And I don't blame them on the end of saying like it's so expensive to go to the theater
Yeah.
these days too. You know what I mean? Like it is a night out. You know what I mean? And like I don't know last time I've ever seen like what the price of a matinee these days would be.
I think it's like
how much it would
$14.
cost to go.
Yeah, I think it is like 14 or something. I miss the dollar
Yeah.
theaters. Those
Yeah.
were fun as
Oh
a
my
kid.
gosh, yes, those were so great. I love what they've done to try to get big people back into the theaters, like having alcohol and really comfortable seats
Yes.
and stuff like that. So they're certainly trying, you know what I mean? But yeah, there is a nostalgia that's missing
Yes, there is.
that was really fun going to the theaters. Like what you mentioned with seeing Jurassic Park for the first time. My dad took me to see Jurassic Park for the first time in the theaters,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
remember just awestruck by how big and awesome everything was. And yeah, you can only get that feeling when you go see it in the theater.
I believe that Jurassic Park is the only film I saw with my parents in the theater.
Oh, really?
They would occasionally
Really?
drop us off for a film, but like my parents didn't do movies. I'm frugal. My parents took that to a very high level. So
Mhm.
like, I think that is the only movie I ever saw with them in the theaters.
Oh, really? My other favorite memory is my dad dropped me, my sister, and the neighbor friend and another kid, Ernest Halloween.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah, and we get in there. We're the only ones there, and we're all excited because we're the only ones there. We had popcorn, and my dad dropped us off. He took off with the car. The next thing we know, he jump scares us behind the seats before the movie starts. The popcorn goes flying everywhere. We're just, he scared us.
Oh, that's great.
It's like, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now that we've had this heartfelt memory, let's interrupt the flow of the show for a moment and remind people to support the show at patreon.com/OIO. That's
Well-
patreon.com/OIO. You can also follow us on social media. Email the show at overratedpod@gmail.com. That's overratedpod@gmail.com. You can follow Phoenix at PhoenixLogicOIO on Instagram. Follow me at ThompsonLogicOIO on Instagram and Blue Sky. And follow the show at Facebook.com/OutsideIsOverrated. We're going to start by discussing Zathura. Here's how this movie show works. Jon Favreau has directed 9 feature films. We each picked one film to focus our discussion on, and then we'll discuss what makes up his signature style, and then we'll rank those 9 feature films. First up, his entire catalog. Maid came out in 2001. Elf came out in 2003. Zathura, A Space Odyssey in 2005. The original Iron Man in 2008. Iron Man 2 in 2010. Cowboys and Aliens in 2011. Chef in 2014. The Jungle Book in 2016. And the live-action The Lion King in 2019. We start our discussion with Zathura, a space adventure from 2005. In this film, 2 young brothers are drawn into an intergalactic adventure when their house is hurled through the depths of space by the magical board game they are playing. This film stars Josh Hutcherson, who has 61 acting credits, including The Hunger Games. Jonah Bobo has 15 acting credits, including Crazy Stupid Love and The Backyardigans. And Dax Shepard from Employee of the Month, Ghosted, The Ranch, and of course being married to Kristen Bell.
Who did he take over for the ranch? Because we started the ranch, and I just...
Did he take over for the curly-haired brother
That's what I was
that got canceled?
wondering.
Hyde?
Yeah, because I don't remember in the early seasons. Sorry
I don't
to bring
remember
this
him
up
either.
on the show, but I'm just like, I don't remember him in Ranch, but okay. We'll have to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. Phoenix, you chose this film for your part of the discussion. What did you expect going into Zathura, and then what charmed you about it?
I had no clue what the movie was going to be about. I knew it was something about space and maybe some kids and stuff, and I knew there was a video game out, so I was like thinking it was more of a space action, all in space the whole time. The society is in space, I guess, is what I was thinking going into the film. But as we were watching the film, I'm like, oh my goodness, this feels like Jumanji in ways. And so I looked up while we were watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, this is there's 2 books, this Jumanji book and
Zathura.
Zathura, thank you. And so I was like, oh wow. So it was very fun to watch the film, bringing back memories of Jumanji, because I just loved Jumanji as a kid. You know, I think the action, the way the movie played out with the board game and everything, and then of course Robin Williams. I always have a soft spot for Robin Williams. I love.
And to be
his
clear,
films.
there's no Robin Williams in Zathura.
Yes, and so that was a little bit like, oh, but it was quite unique in its own, because you have Jumanji and it's, you know, board game with the safari and everything. And this film was great because it did have a similar feel, but not quite, because it's in space and the board game is a little bit different. And it charmed me with just the kids trying to figure out how to play through their tension and dynamics, because their parents have recently divorced, so there's a lot of tension between the 2 of them. And then them trying to work together when they have a hard time working together just in general, the 2 boys. And I thought the effects were great for the time, and the alien creatures were well done, and the tension being on the spaceship when the little boy crawls on to get the board game back. I thought it was a well done film that...
It was surprisingly good, right?
Yeah, surprisingly good. And I also, the teenage sister, she was kind of an interesting character as well. Just the boys trying to deal with their teenage sister, who seemed like a terror in her own way, but...
Terror, good word for it. That's what I was going to use too. Bailey, did you have any expectations going into Zathura?
I have never heard of this movie before. Perhaps I did way back then, but I went into this blind. I found it on YouTube for free, so I watched it the other day. Good family-friendly movie. Exactly how Phoenix described it. It is Jumanji in space, which makes sense because it's Jumanji and Zathura were written by the same guy. He did the books back in the 80s and stuff. So, makes sense. Not sure where they, not sure if it's like a rewatchable thing again. Maybe if my nieces wanted to watch it, I would do it. But, I would consider it on the end of like good one-time family flick type of situation.
I had almost a sense of dread going into this film, because looking at Favreau's catalog leading up to this, you had Maid, which is a very character-driven thing about 2 characters. You had Elf, which is a very character-driven thing about a stranger in a strange land. Now we're doing a kids movie in space. It's like, that's okay. It's a different direction. Let's see how this goes. And I wound up being super charmed by the whole experience. The thing that really stood out to me was that the effects were so good, because I feel like directors tend to specialize in a thing, and that's like how it's so easy for us to distill their shtick down into one thing. Like Guy Ritchie has the disparate threads that always come together at the end. Tarantino has his over-the-top violence and pop culture reference. I thought that this was the first sign that Favreau could do a lot of different stuff, because there were character-driven moments, like the relationships between the brothers were really strong. Really, the relationships between everyone in the family was all interesting, but I thought the effects really... set a new standard for what Favreau could do. Adding on to that thought, Billy, what else do you think that Zathura did well?
I with watching some behind the scenes stuff, they really wanted to go for a lot of practical effects in this movie. I mean, you had the CGI stuff, the space stuff going on outside and whatnot, but like the aliens, the robots, all of this stuff, they really wanted to make it practical and feel good on film when you watched it. And I thought that they did a great job out of it. You know what I mean? Like it's good for what it is.
Yeah, and considering it's a 21-year-old film, the effects still look great. And I think it's because they did rely on a lot of practical effects. Phoenix, did you want to add anything on to the effects, or did you have another point for what this film did well?
I mean, the effects... Listening to what Billy said, watching the behind the scenes, it's amazing when you use practical effects for certain movies like Jurassic Park. It still stands today because of how they did the effects for the film. And I feel like this movie can hold up a little bit because of how they did it. You don't have some of the wonky CGI. And I agree with you. It's just, you didn't know what to expect coming from Jon Favreau doing this type of film, because... being used to seeing him in Swingers and then Maid, and then Elf, it's just like, oh, I wonder how
They're films that don't rely on special effects to any degree.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing magical about those films.
Except for Santa flying through the sky. But yeah, it's so I feel like this was something that he can be proud of for being able to tackle something that he probably wasn't used to, and just be able to take it by the horn and just be able to get the film on and make it well done. So,
and I wonder if this is something that he particularly wanted to do, that he had a passion for or a vision for, or like if it was just an opportunity, like a studio had this film and decided to bring up this up-and-coming director. Like, it'd be fascinating to know how the matchmaking worked on this film. One other thing that I wanted to point out that this film did well, there's a really good twist in it. Like, there is a character thing that happens that I did not expect at all. Phoenix, you actually called the big twist at the end, but like, let's take just a moment to talk about there's an exterior character that interacts with this family, and how he ties in at the end is really fascinating.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I think you feel like the author with Jumanji and stuff, there's always sort of a twist. So I kind of saw the threads coming through. So I thought I was right, and then I kind of questioned myself that I guessed it right, and then I was like, oh, that was well done how they played it out, the twist and everything. And so don't want to spoil it for people because it is well played out and well done. So I think if you get a chance to watch a family-friendly movie, you should check.
If you have family movie night, Zathura is a great choice, and it's probably not on your radar because it's a 21-year-old box office flop.
The other thing I was going to bring up was being parents and watching how parents interact with kids and kids interact with each other. It's like, man, John really knows how to bring that to reality on film, because I was just like, that's so real. The way the father was trying to talk to the kids and just...
Or the way the kids were buttheads to each other and just like antagonizing each other and just like mean for no reason. Like, I agree. I think that he did a really great job of portraying kids and family relationships within this film that carry on. Like, his previous films showed a great relationship between two long-term friends, and it kind of like evaluated how far would you go for your friend? How far will you stand up for somebody who is your chosen family? And then Elf is all about this stranger to strange land, making new relationships. This film portrays a family going through some dysfunction and like adjusting to divorce, and like those relationships are so good.
And we've seen films where parents and kids and other things, but it just felt so real that he can portray it on the screen so well,
Yeah, there's a lot to like about Zathura. I was very pleasantly surprised by this film. Billy, why do you think that this movie didn't hit like Jumanji did?
I think it's because Jumanji was such an iconic movie of its time. It was a very different story. They did it really well. Rewatchable. I don't know if I could say the same about Zathura. You know what I mean? Like, I think I could go down and I could sit and watch Jumanji once a year type of situation. I don't know if I could do the same with Zathura. And maybe that's just me, because I have such a love for Jumanji. I mean, plus you also have Robin Williams, who just took control of the movie like he does with all of his movies.
Yes.
So perhaps there's that at the same time, because we got Jumanji already with Robin Williams. Zathura in space with Dax Shepard just didn't hit the way that it did with Robin Williams and Jumanji. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a toss-up when it comes to those two.
Well, let me push back here. I've never seen Jumanji with Robin Williams, so I assume this film is better.
I'm sorry, what, Tom?
I have never seen Jumanji with Robin Williams. I've seen Jumanji with Karen Gillan.
One more time. Say it one more time for the back of the audience, please.
I've never seen Jumanji with Robin Williams.
I'm glad we have that on tape now, that Tom has never seen Jumanji with Robin Williams.
Well, at this point,
we need to fix that. But
it's not a surprise when I haven't seen a movie. Like, this is a recurring discussion.
And I think it's the recurring joke, and I love that joke that we do every single year. We're like, oh, what's Tom got to say about this movie? And the fact that you haven't seen Jumanji, but you love Zathura, I think you'll extremely love Jumanji then. You know what I mean? If you really like Zathura, boy, oh boy, you're really going to like that one.
I like the new Jumanjis with dance fighting.
Well, I mean, everything Billy said. I mean, I have great memories of watching Jumanji. I would try to get my parents to rent it so we could rewatch it. Robin Williams,
You have a very strong affinity for Robin Williams.
I watched all his films. I enjoy all his films except for Birdcage because my parents weren't into that. I don't know. For some reason, they wouldn't let us watch it, and then my brother rented it, and he's like, "No, you can't watch it with me." But I should get on to watching that movie. But
Birdcage is so fantastic, by the way.
I should watch that one.
You need to watch.
The board game, the way they did the effects, the action, and it's like when you're watching the original Jumanji, it's like, how are they going to fix this? Because it was so brand new, the idea, and it's like you never seen anything like it. It's like, how is this going to come together in the end? And then watching Zathura, I think it's a great family film, but you kind of have an idea that something's going to happen and bring it all back together, so you don't have the same tension when you first watch Jumanji, like, oh my gosh, how are they going to fix this? You know, what's going to happen? But I did do some research online because I was like, why didn't this film do as well? Or why didn't it get a lot of, hype or anything? And it turns out, according to Google, it said that they tried to have it compete against a Harry Potter movie. I can't remember which one.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But
that does not matter which one it is.
So for some reason, they decided to release it the same weekend as Harry Potter and have it compete against it. I think that was a really dumb mistake on their part. I don't know what they thought, but so Google says that was one of the big reasons for it. And then I think it also said that it was just they tried to pair it off as another Jumanji, but that was hard because a lot of us
associated Jumanji with Robin Williams.
Yeah, and so that was also hard. And with the new Jumanjis, it was hard for me to go see the new ones because it's like, there's no Robin Williams. I don't know if I could see a Jumanji with no Robin Williams. But I did.
I did not have that trepidation.
I know, I did, but the new ones are great, though. So.
Yeah, they are. We've kind of talked about this already, but I just really wanted to hone in on what part of this experience is uniquely Favreau. So, Phoenix, you talked about the family vibes. Billy, do you have any thoughts on what makes this such a Favreau film?
That was tough with this one, being the fact that it's one of his third, but it's a very early adaptation of his movie catalog and stuff like that. So what I went was kind of what you guys went with. It's a really good family vibe. They try to capture that, and I think they do it really well. He does a great job with children's dynamics and how they interact with each other on film. I think he was also trying to capture that 90s film. I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but movies in the 90s, they just had if this makes sense, a warm vibe to them that felt really good to watch. And I think Favreau really tried to grab that in this movie. And, because it's tough to do, because there's a certain feel that you get from watching movies like Home Alone and all those stuff, where you can rewatch them all the time. They feel good. So I think he was really trying to hone in on that when it came to Zathura.
I see what you're saying, yeah. It's like growing up, we had a lot of these movies about kids. I mean, you had Stand By Me and I'm blanking on the ones with the girls. There's a whole group of girls.
Mean Girls?
No. And then the kid who died by the bee sting, I can't remember that one. That was huge when we were kids.
My Girl?
My Girl.
My Girl.
Yes. I see what you're saying. Just this kid adventure that we had a lot of those films growing up. Just had these adventures with the kids and everything in the 90s, and there's a certain feel to them, and I could see what Billy's saying. Yeah, I agree. He was trying to create that sort of kid adventure action film. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is another family.
Yeah, it does capture that vibe. What I thought was interesting, I thought this established him as somebody who could do big special effects films, because watching his first two films and how they're so character driven, I didn't have any excitement for him doing a special effect film, but I think this set a new standard. So Billy, who is this movie for in 2025? Nobody, because
it's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know if it would be any. There's plenty of other movies to watch these days that are better than this movie. You know what I mean? If you want a movie that feels like this, go watch Jumanji or go watch the remake of Jumanji. I think they're just way better films in general. So I don't know if it would be for anybody these days unless you really, really like space that much.
And I
you
do
like
really,
that-
really like space that much. So, like, to hear you say that nobody should watch this film, it's like, oh man, that is harsh criticism, my friend.
That's just me personally. You know what I mean? Because I have such a love for Jumanji, and maybe if you had watched the original Jumanji, it might make a little bit more sense because this sounds silly to me because it is a cool movie in its own. But because it's such a carbon copy in space of Jumanji, that's kind of where my criticism comes. You know what I mean? It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just I have a preference from the same writer of both of these, adaptations.
Sure.
I just like the first one better. They just did it really well. And so it was hard for me to kind of see them try to capture lightning in a bottle twice.
Well, Phoenix, you share Billy's affinity for the original Jumanji. Do you also hate this film with a burning, fiery passion?
No, I don't hate it. I think it's a good film for, again, saying a family night movie, but it's also a way I feel like you could start introducing kids to sci-fi or space themes. I know there's Star Wars and all those big name sci-fi films you can share with kids, but sometimes just presenting them with kids that are on an adventure, that are in space, to get them used to the idea of more of a sci-fi type setting. I feel like this film could be a way to introduce them to that.
Here's my hot take, and Billy, I'm expecting a strong reaction from you on this, especially given your feelings towards this film. I believe that this is a better film to share with kids to develop a love of sci-fi than Star Wars. I believe that this is a better film to share with kids to develop a love of sci-fi than Star Wars. And why? Because they can identify with the main characters more. Star Wars is great, and of course I love it. Our house is decked out in Star Wars stuff, and I certainly want to share that with my kids at some point, with our kids, with our children. But it's not necessarily a film for kids. It's a film that kids can be adjacent to, and like they can see the big hairy creature and be like, oh, I love how he roars, that's great. But like Zathura is actually a film for kids, and like they can identify with peers almost their own age going on this adventure. So I think this is much more of a gateway than, say, Star Wars. And now I'll stop talking and give Billy a chance to explode.
I don't think I'm going to actually explode on this one. I think I kind of agree with you. Star Wars is very adult themed. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it has cute, cuddly characters in it and stuff like that. But, I mean, for your girls, I completely understand. This would be a perfect gateway into space exploration and stuff like that.
I'd also add there's probably better like gateways within Star Wars, within the Star Wars universe than the original trilogy. While the original trilogy is always the top of the list for me, like I'm sure some of the cartoons are like there's probably a better entry point for kids than the original trilogy.
I mean, you got cartoons. I'm sure there's other things that we could introduce to get kids into sci-fi theme movies that are more, but I just, because I haven't seen a whole lot, I thought this film might be a way to show them that, you know, you can.
Space is cool.
Space is cool. You can be in outer space, run into aliens. They're not
kids
too
can do
scary.
heroic things.
Yeah, kids can be the heroes. But
yeah, good stuff. Well, that is Zathura, a space adventure. Next, let's let our nerd rage flow as we debate superhero films. We're going to discuss Favreau's contributions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the MCU, in Iron Man 1 and 2. I chose these films because I thought it was fascinating to go back to the MCU and to see the first steps leading up to the Avengers films. A brief synopsis of these two films: in Iron Man, after being held captive in an Afghan cave, billionaire engineer Tony Stark creates a unique weaponized suit of armor to fight evil. Then in Iron Man 2, with the world now aware of his identity as Iron Man, Tony Stark must contend with both his declining health and a vengeful madman with ties to his father's legacy. These films star Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle as Rhodey, Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stone, and Mickey Rourke as Whiplash. So, Phoenix, I'll start with you on this one. How much credit does Jon Favreau deserve for launching the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it?
I think a lot. I think he deserves a lot of credit because if this was their starting point and the movie could have been okay, it could have bombed, but it did so extremely well critically and commercially that I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he pulled together, the special effects, choosing Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark. I mean, I read online he was considering Sam Rockwell, a couple other actors he was thinking of, but then he had Robert Downey Jr. do a read for him, and he loved him, but the studio pushed back on him, and he pushed hard to have Robert Downey Jr. to be Tony Stark.
And, like, no offense to Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
We enjoy Sam Rockwell, and we've enjoyed a lot of his films, but, like, the MCU does not exist if Sam Rockwell is Iron Man.
It's hard to see Sam Rockwell playing Tony Stark. RDJ is just, he is Tony Stark. And I think Jon Favreau deserves a lot of credit for how well he put these films together, how quickly he put them together, the special effects.
Especially the second film.
Yeah, and the storyline, and just choosing really good actors to be these characters. Because if you don't have good actors that can deliver the lines that he writes, sometimes a film doesn't do as well as it should, so...
I agree with that. I mean, you know, forgive me if I'm misquoting the article that I read, but I think they were also I think they were also looking at Tom Cruise as the lead for Tony Stark. I don't know if a gigantic A-lister of the time like Tom Cruise would have worked in this. I think I think the pull for Robert Downey Jr. was the right move. You know what I mean? As much as the MCU and everybody else was really scared of Robert Downey Jr. coming in because he's had such a weird career. You know what I mean? With like his personal stuff and what he did and everything, that they were banking on this. Like, okay, we'll give it a shot, and man, did it hit. Like, I gotta give it up to Favreau for rooting for the guy, because you can't see anybody but Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, especially these days. Like, you just can't. There can't be another Iron Man, you know? And so, you know, kudos to Favreau. I mean, he did kick off, basically, the MCU. This worked, and now we've got, 12, 13 years now of movies from the MCU, so yeah, huge hats off to the guy for rooting for Robert Downey Jr.
It's interesting. In my memory, the first film was good, but not, like, groundbreaking, and the second film was completely forgettable. So going back to it now, it's interesting to see how the seeds that they planted in these films, not only for, like, the MCU as we know it, but also for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and, like, they really started building everything out of Iron Man and Iron Man 2, and if these films had flopped, there would literally be no Marvel Cinematic Universe. We wouldn't have had the Avengers films, and, like, culture would be the poorer for it. So, with that dramatic stage set, Billy, what do these films do particularly well?
I mean, they're huge. You know what I mean? Like, for me, they made people fall in love with superheroes that may not have gotten into them kind of like we were when we were kids, right?
Yeah, and that's a good point, because, like, to this point, culturally, like, the X-Men films hit in the late 90s, and they were generally, at least the first two, were well liked by people. The Spider-Man films hit in the early 2000s, but then there's a big gap until Iron Man comes out.
Yep, and there's just something about it. Like, it was big, it was huge, it was awesome again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. X-Men films, if you were really into X-Men, you liked them, and then you hated some of the movies. If you were really into Spider-Man, it was awesome seeing Spider-Man fly through New York again. And then, yeah, you had this gap. And then Iron Man comes out, and you're like, okay, let's see what they do with this. Let's see how this is going to go. And then it just exploded, and it was just awesome. So aside from the special effects and the actors and everything like that, it was just this, like, you could feel this new wave coming out, like, okay, this is how they're going to do superhero movies from now on. And I was just so stoked for that. So it was just a breath of fresh air when it came to superhero movies, because, like, the three of us here recording, nerds for life, you know what I mean? So when you see these characters that you have seen since you were a child up on the big screen, Iron Man, you're like, oh, you're transported being 10 years old reading comic books all over again, and the excitement that you felt from it. And they really captured that extremely well with the Iron Man films and MCU going forward, minus a couple of movies here and there, but they just hit it on all marks for me when it came to Iron Man. Like, it was just so awesome, and you just felt so good being a nerd when these movies came out. And now we've got the MCU, and it made everybody love superheroes. So
Yeah.
huge shout out for how Favreau did this, how the MCU handled all of this. I loved it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Billy. It's just, I think part of the film is just well done with the energy that makes it. I know the storyline is a little bit, he gets kidnapped, he has to find his way out, but I feel like the background energy of the film is so energizing, upbeat, made the film, because like with the Hulk films, they're interesting, but when I think about them, I feel like they're a little bit of a downer films. They're not really, where Iron Man just came on the scene with this big life, big action, big personality of Tony Stark with a lot of energy. And I think it was a great starting point to just really bring these superheroes onto the screen with a new life, new rejuvenation. And I also, Jon Favreau, with the way he does characters and character development, and the way he does the conversation writing on the script and the actors delivering the lines, is just, he's so good at bringing characters onto screen and the development between the characters. Like, Tony Stark is a very interesting character. He's a billionaire, a womanizer, and sometimes that can come across maybe not as well as it should on screen. It could be a little bit like, ooh.
I mean, he should be a scumbag that we hate, right?
Yeah, it's like, thank you. Yeah, it's like
Bruce Wayne.
And but
had that one queued up for a bit.
Yes, he did. But RDJ, he and John created Tony Stark, who didn't seem a complete scumbag. He's vulnerable. He seemed, insecure at times, so they made him a really good character and someone that you can relate to in ways, even though he had tons of money. But
I think that vulnerability is the key there, because, the world in these universes perceives Tony Stark as like that rich kind of scummy guy, but like we see him at his lowest points. We see him kidnapped and in a cave and like being slowly killed by the shrapnel in his chest. We see him being poisoned by the suit that he creates and that he's trying desperately to protect from the American government. And so we see behind the scenes that like what his real psyche is, and like we get to see more than just the mask that he puts on for society.
Yeah, and I think that allowed us to connect with the superhero movie really well. And I just, again, it's well put together and well written and well directed with the special effects, and it was amazing to see on screen to come to life.
I think that Favreau did a great job of showing us the backstory of Iron Man. Like, as much as I love Spider-Man and Peter Parker, I do not need to see Peter get bit one more time in my life on a screen. I just do not need to see it anymore. So you get the backstory. He's got outstanding villains. I loved Ironmonger in the first film, and I really loved Whiplash in the second film. The special effects, the cost of Tony Stark being Iron Man in the second film, the humor, the tension. Like, there's so many just strong elements of these films. Like, I didn't even like Iron Man when these films came out. Like, as a character, I'm like, yeah, he's just a dude who flies around in a suit. But, like, because of Jon Favreau in these films, it's like, oh, okay, Iron Man's cool. Rock and roll. I'm going to get a shirt with him on it.
I could make a dig.
Go ahead.
Well, you just said Iron Man's a man who flies around in a suit. Well, Spider-Man gets an Iron Man suit, so...
Yeah, we've talked. The Iron Spider suit that he gets in the Holland films is kind of a bummer. I believe it's a narrative device because Peter Parker's always monologuing, and you can't just have Tom Holland speaking without a counterfoil for like 85% of the film. Like, I agree that suit's a bummer, but like, that's not real Spider-Man to me. Even though Tom Holland is my cinematic Spider-Man, I separate Holland from the suit, much like we separate Michael Jackson from the music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an abstract connection. So, Phoenix, what elements of Favreau's style sticks out in these Iron Man films specifically?
I don't know how to explain it, but just thinking about his films, when you think of Aaron Sorkin, his works, West Wing, the Sports Night, Newsroom, just the dialogue walking through the rooms, everything's moving quickly, it's all... And as I was thinking about Jon Favreau's films, I find the way he writes conversation between his characters, it's very quick. It has a certain cadence beat to it. I feel like that's unique to him because, like with Swingers, you know, they're not quick conversations, but they have
They've got a quick back and forth. It's not long monologues. It's
thank you. Yeah,
actors playing off of each other.
Yeah, it's the quick back and forth that that, you know, you really get invested with the characters. You follow along. You see the development quickly with the quick back and forth. I feel like he portrays a lot in those quick back and forth conversations really well in his films. So I feel like that's unique to his style of movies that he makes and writes.
And Billy, do you have a rebuttal to that before you move on to your point?
Rebuttal? No. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that the back and forth, the banter between characters that John Favreau writes is really well done. It feels organic. It feels like a conversation anybody would have with somebody else. It's not like over-the-top conversations, not over-the-top speech. It's very real in that sense. So, yeah, I have to agree on that.
And I'd just make a quick interjection. I don't want to give him too much credit. He didn't write Iron Man. He did write Swingers. He wrote and made, and it's interesting, like his directorial style seems to capture that same energy between the characters as the films that he wrote.
I guess, yeah, because if he didn't write Iron Man, you know, he took the dialogue that was on the script and developed it. And I mean, RDJ loves that quick cadence.
He thrives in it for sure.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him on the screen with it. So
yeah, and that whole, like, you are correct. He didn't write it, but you can have a great script, but if you don't have a good director, it's not going to show on film. It's definitely going to show on film, excuse me. So I think he directed it well to the script's credit and to Favreau's credit. They both really gelled well together, and you can direct somebody in the way that those words from script to screen really shine, and I think he does well with that. And that goes into my point that I'm going to be making here pretty quick, which is that they're good at humor. Favreau's really good at humor. And Robert Downey Jr. is good at delivering that. You know what I mean? Especially when Favreau, as he portrays Happy, they're back and forth together. It's like they've been friends forever. And you can feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he directed it well in that. Like, they got a good script, and Favreau just nailed it. So the humor back and forth, the talking, it really makes that movie because, you know, it could have been just a movie of big explosions and CGI and stuff like that, but you felt it, you know what I mean? So I think Favreau really took what he does well and just rolled with it, and he just nailed it.
Yeah, I agree. The things that I thought were Favreau's signature style in these films, there's the big budget special effects. Like, it started with the Zathura, and it just keeps building how well he handles special effects. So that's the first point. Then there's his need to appear in his own films, which is kind of interesting. He's always got to be in the films that he writes or directs. And then there's the strong personal relationships between characters, like between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, or between Stark and Rhodey. I think those are kind of his signature things that are on display in this film. So, Billy, are Iron Man and Iron Man 2 still superpowered in 2025?
100%. I just went through all of the MCU movies, the Infinity Saga, and those movies in order again. Bill loved every minute of it. So yeah, I 100%. If there's anybody listening that hasn't seen or their kids haven't seen, I think Iron Man still holds up to this day. 100%.
Peter?
I agree.
Very succinct. Was that your expectation going into them?
No, sorry. No, it wasn't. I wasn't sure how well the special effects held up. I didn't remember much. I just remember being blown away by the special effects, the characters, Tony Stark's journey in both films, and I still remember the villains and how well they were portrayed. But I just thought, I don't know, it's been a long time. I don't know how well it would be on screen, but yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed them, watching them again. I'm glad we watched them again because it was a great ride.
And like, if we hadn't done Favreau, I would literally have never watched Iron Man 2 again. And like, That is unfortunate because Iron Man 2 is awesome. It is a vastly underrated part of the MCU. I think when I first watched it, I had less of an affinity for drones and mechs. I don't like drones in films. I think drones are a stupid bad guy. But I never really cared for mechs either until we started doing like the mech stuff for the show. And it's like, oh, Macross is cool. Armored Core is cool. I'm like, oh, now I'm into the dude in the suit. So like, I don't know. These films are both still super powered. They're awesome. And like the effects are still really good.
Yeah.
We've got plenty more to dive into with our discussion of director Jon Favreau, but first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Premier Health. This episode is brought to you by Premier Health, home to Doctors Brian Camille and Dr. Kelsey Camille, two chiropractors who know a thing or two about keeping your body aligned, whether you're trapped in a killer board game, crammed into a food truck, or blasting around in your mech armor.
Unlike the kids in Zathura, your health is no game. At Premier Health, they specialize in everything from robot malfunctions to asteroid showers, helping you feel better one adjustment at a time.
So if your back feels like you just got your butt kicked by a lioness girlfriend, or you're ready to upgrade your health, visit premierhealthmn.com and schedule your next move.
Premier Health, because the best defense is feeling your best. Check out their website at premierhealthmn.com. That's premierhealthmn, as in Minnesota.com. Not every one of Favreau's films is a rollicking adventure with big-name stars and huge special effects. Next up, we're going to discuss indie film Chef. In Chef, a head chef quits his restaurant job and buys a food truck in an effort to reclaim his creative talents while piecing his estranged family back together. It's, I just wanted to point out, like, I copied that marketing description right off of IMDb, and, like, that's not a great summation of the film, because, like, he doesn't quit his job, and, like, I don't know. I thought that description was silly.
It is a little silly.
I think so, yeah.
This film stars Jon Favreau as Carl Casper, John Leguizamo as Martin, and MJ Anthony as Percy. He has 23 acting credits, including Council of Dads and Hysteria. Billy, you put this film up for discussion. If you hadn't, I would have. But, like, what was your expectation going into this film?
First off, I know this movie was a big draw for the three of us to want to discuss, so I just want to say thank you to the both of you for letting me just do this one. Because I watched this right away when it came out, because I've worked in the restaurant industry since I was like 16 years old up until I was about 32. So I've been involved in food and restaurants a good chunk of my life. And so when those types of films do come out, I tend to watch them right away. I watched The Bear when it came out. I watched that weird one with Anna Taylor-Joy that came out a little bit ago. I can't even remember what the heck its name was. So when a movie like Chef comes out, I'm jumping on it right away. And so my expectations were high, because I want to know when these types of movies come out, if they get it right. If somebody who is a chef, who has worked in a restaurant, front of house, back of house, wherever, if they watch this, can they go, yep, they nailed it, right? And so that's why I was drawn to this. And so I was hoping that it really would make the restaurant industry proud, and I really think it did. I've never been a chef myself, but like my brother-in-law, my nephew, they're both executive chefs. And I think they would agree with me when I say that this movie, they really nailed the feel of it. You know what I mean? Of that, like, wanting to have that creative energy and freedom of making your own, that freedom of making your own menu and wanting to have creative control of everything. And we'll talk about it more in this segment. And just that struggle when it comes to having an owner that you have to compete with. I think they did just fantastic in this film.
Well, that's awesome, and I can't wait to dive into your thoughts on how well they nailed the aesthetic of the food industry more. Before we get there, Phoenix, what were your expectations going to this film?
They were high, actually. I remember seeing the movie poster at the theater. It's like I know that guy, Jon Favreau, and I've enjoyed. I couldn't piece together who.
You'd never seen Swingers at that time, so like, no. Why would you have an affinity for Jon Favreau at that point? I just love RDJ's Driver.
But it's just like, oh, and something about just a food truck. I don't know. Something about the poster drew me in. I think we saw a trailer. And I thought, oh, this looks like a fun indie film. And I was like, I kept hoping we'd watch it. We never got around to it. So I was really excited to watch this one, but we had to watch through all the other films to get to it. I'm like, oh man, can't we just jump in.
And no, we cannot. I was trepidatious about this film. I've always had an affinity for Favreau since I saw Swingers in high school. Like, Mikey's always been my guy, and so by association, I've always had that affinity for Favreau. But I was trepidatious about this film because I didn't know if the rough and tumble world of the mobile food industry would really grip me. And I thought a lot of this film would be like him in a food truck doing food stuff. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'll give it a shot because it's Favreau. And it turns out I'm really glad that I did. Billy, what did Chef do particularly well?
Yeah, that's a great question because, in my opinion, again, as somebody who's worked in the restaurant industry before, I think it was extremely well done. I mean, you can fantasize the chef world in any way that you want, but if it doesn't hit well with people who have been in the industry before, you're going to just kind of make a weird fantasy out of it. You know what I mean? And so I think they did great. I mean, the first portion of this movie was portrayed in the back of the house of Dustin Hoffman's restaurant, and the back and the forth that they have with each other, where it's a chef that wants creative control and an owner, Dustin Hoffman, who doesn't want to give it. They did that great. I mean, you could feel the tension between them.
And one specific thing I want to call out, like, it was an interesting relationship, which Favreau does so many interesting relationships, because at one point, Hoffman is, like, saying, it's my restaurant, we're going to do the food that I want, but, like, you know, we remodel this kitchen. You got this fancy, flat top cooking surface. And not every chef gets that, but you're worth it. So he is very manipulative in the way that he dealt with Carl in that scene. It's like, you're not getting what you want, but look at what you got, and look at, you deserve this treat. It felt like an unfortunate marriage to me.
It was, and that can happen a lot in the restaurant industry, especially with head chefs and with the owners, because not all head chefs, like you see on TV or in movies, own the restaurant that they work in. They are just the executive chef there. And so, unfortunately, unless you have a great relationship with the owner of the restaurant or the owners of the restaurant, which happen to be the big state of affairs these days, you don't have as much creative control as you thought you would. You know what I mean? Because they have the final say on that. And so that's really well done in this movie. When you see Dustin Hoffman being like, exactly what you said, Tom, I gave you everything. You have the world at your fingertips, but you're going to follow my menu. You know what I mean? Like, this is the menu that I agreed on. You will follow this because the people like it. You have no creative control, but you have everything at your disposal. So why aren't you happy?
And then we see the disastrous consequences of how that plays out when a food critic, a big deal food critic comes in. They serve the owner's menu, and it goes disastrously. And that's kind of the crux of the film. That leads to Favreau being forced out of the restaurant, reevaluating his life, needing to do something new as a source of make money. I thought that relationship with the owner, Dustin Hoffman's character, really set the stage for everything that came after.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought the whole thing was well put together, and the hero's journey in this story, I think, was well played out with John's character. You see him sort of trying to get through life. You feel like he's not quite at his lowest point in life, but he just is struggling to
He's having a rough time of it at the restaurant. And, like, you see that reflected in his relationship with his kid, the way that he parents, his relationship with his ex-wife. He's having a rough time at the restaurant.
And he wants to be somebody, and he's struggling to figure out how to get to his core happiness, which is what he loves, is creating food. And he's not feeling creative anymore because he's hindered by the owner. So that whole journey of him just trying to figure out where he will be his happiest, and I think it's well played out through the whole film, and it's supported by great characters. And
yeah, I mean, it's really rough when the huge dude has to settle for Scarlett Johansson. Like, it's a tough life, dude. Like, he doesn't have creative freedom, and, like, all he has in his life is Scarlett Johansson. This film just killed it with the personal relationships, usually tied to Favreau's character, Carl. We mentioned Carl and his boss, but there's also Carl and Scarlett Johansson. There's Carl and his son Percy, Carl and Martin, who gets promoted when Favreau gets fired and just up and quits. Like, Favreau calls him and is like, yeah, I got this food truck. Dude just quits his job, flies down there. He's like, all right, let's make some food. And it's like, I think that you had an affinity for the Martin relationship, Phoenix.
I mean, I love John Leguizamo. In him, in this movie playing Martin is just fantastic. The scene where he just shows up and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I quit. I'm here to help you. And he just jumps in and
Favreau's like, well, the pay is nothing. And Leguizamo's character, Martin, says, I'll take it.
Yeah, and then he fixes everything for him. I think part of, Carl's journey is having these friendships that he has with people to get him to the point where he can reach where he wants to be. And Martin was a key character in this film to help him, encourage him, and then his son encouraging with his social media and everything is just, it's a great film and great dynamics and great scenes between these friendships of these characters and father and son dynamics.
I mean, what I thought was interesting was that Favreau's character Carl was a food genius. Like he was a top tier chef. He could cook anything that he wanted to in any place that he wanted to, but like that wasn't enough. Like he needed to go on this hero's journey, get the food truck, and he needed his assistant chef and he needed his son to draw crowds. And like it was interesting how just the food genius wasn't enough to get Favreau's character where he wanted to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll ask Billy this. I mean, I think John did a lot of research with the whole cooking and the cutting of food and displaying how you cook food in the movie. I think he did a lot of research. I mean, on screen it portrayed really well what a chef goes through to just the foods that he wants. That
like going to the market, evaluating the ingredients, and then using that as his inspiration for what the menu is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, for you, Billy, did it come across as that he had done his research to portray what a chef does to create his foods, his ideas?
Oh, yeah, 100%. You can see that in the way that you can see that in the film. I mean, the knife work when you see him cutting up vegetables and getting his mise en place ready and stuff like that. That's all John. Like I've done the research. I've done a little bit of research, and he worked his butt off for this film. He wanted to make it as realistic as possible when it came to the skill set that a chef has. So he did his research. He learned how to cook. He learned how to do knife skills and stuff like that. So yeah, he did this film justice. He did that really well. You know what I mean? And yeah, to your point where you were saying that it's the hero's journey. It's that being held back by something because you want to be creative as a chef. If you're truly passionate about food, having an owner or having somebody restrict that passion, you still do the job, but you fall out of love with that job. You know what I mean? The creative art of making food and making people feel happy to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why the relationship and the tension between him and the food critic is really well done, is because he loves what he's doing. He's good at it, but he's being held back. And so that's what pisses him off more with this food critic, is that he came in, trashed the food that he was served, and all he's trying to do is explain to this guy, like, I don't have the freedom to do what I can do here. I'm good at what I do. You know what I mean? Like the whole scene with the chocolate lava cake, and he crushes it in his hand and stuff like that. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. You take a frozen ganache, you cook it you bake it inside of the dough, and blah blah blah. You can tell that he's so frustrated because he's being held back so much. And so when he has that conversation later with his son at the food truck, where it seems like his son doesn't want to do this, and when he says to his son, I'm not a great dad, I'm not a great husband, but I am good at this, like, you can feel that passion. You know what I mean? You can feel that. And Favreau just did a phenomenal job at, like, really getting you to believe that he put up the research for this. He showed what chefs truly want, which is to showcase their art and their passion and their love to the people around them and stuff. So yeah, huge shout out for this movie. It was such a breath of fresh air when it came to these types of movies. I mean, you watch something like Waiting, and like, that's great if you're front of house, and like, but half of that stuff doesn't happen in real life. And then you get this stuff in Chef, and you're like, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, this tracks, and it's great. So yeah, excellent movie.
So, Billy, why do you think Favreau made this movie right after doing two big budget films like Iron Man?
I think it's more just that he wanted to do something for himself, a little bit of a passion project. You could tell that he really put in the work. He really wanted this to be his own thing without a big, huge movie studio behind it, I think. I don't remember what studio backed this one, but you could tell that he had creative genius and they just kind of let him go through it. So I think for him, taking a break from the MCU, from Elf, from these huge films that he had a lot of people breathing down the back of his neck for, this was kind of his little escape. Because, I mean, what a fun movie to do. You know what I mean? You're making food with your buddies and your son. You're making people happy. You were married to Sofia Vergara, and now you're dating Scarlett Johansson. So, you know what I mean? Like, good on Favreau for this one. You know what I mean? He made it really well.
I agree with Billy. I mean, I think reading that, I was curious why he didn't do the third Iron Man, and he said he just didn't like the scheduling because once the first one came out, the studio just pushed him and made him get the second one out so fast. I think, was it just like 2 years between the films? I can't remember, but they made him rush through it as quickly as possible, and I think he was done. Part of me thinks maybe he kind of lost the passion of doing films, and so he wanted to cleanse his palate and do something that he really wanted to do, is be more creative and have more say in his film. So I think doing this indie film that he could have his own creative process, sort of like Chef, you know.
Well, you're stealing my line, honey.
Sorry. But
so
yeah.
Carl's food journey is essentially a reflection of Favreau's movie career.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, I think he needed something to maybe help him fall back in love with movie making.
So do you think this is Favreau's most honest film then?
I think so. I think he has the character developments. I think it has a lot of his personality in it. So I think it is true to his heart, what, you know, his heart in this movie, you know, his, so yes, I agree.
Billy, do you think this is the most honest film?
I do. You can tell that he was getting his neck breathed on by huge movie executives for the big blockbusters that he's done. So, you know, I won't belabor on it anymore because I really said a lot in the last thing I was talking about. It's great. You could just tell he absolutely fell in love with making movies again with this one. So, yeah, I think it's his most honest because he did the research, he wrote it, he directed it. It was his baby, and it shows. It's really, really well done.
I think looking at his writing career here is interesting. He has 10 writing credits in his career, 10 things that have come out. He has 2 that are still in production. Chef was his 5th. It was his first in 5 years, and it was coming off of Couples Retreat. So in many ways, it does feel like that creative reset for him kind of in the middle of his career. Billy, is this film still tasty in 2025?
100%. I just watched it 2 days ago. Well, at the time of this writing, 2 days ago. Still holds up, still great. Would recommend it to anybody who has not seen it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a film that if people want to watch something that's heartwarming, you know, but funny and enjoy the character development and the character's journey, I think it's a great film if you just want to sit down and watch something for the night.
Yeah, and like, it's a great couples movie because there is the relationship with the ex-wife and how that separates and comes back together. And it's a phenomenal film. For me, it's a must-own. So before we get into our ranking discussion, now that we've discussed nearly half of Favreau's catalog, let's take a moment to continue to refine what makes up his signature style. Favreau might be one of the most important directors of the last 20 years, but he's also one of the least talked about. He's launched franchises, he's reinvented Disney properties, and he's jumped between indie and blockbuster filmmaking. So what actually defines a Favreau movie now that we've talked about some of his films? First, I'd like to point out that he does kids really well, between the brothers fighting incessantly in Zathura to the spoiled kid starved for companionship in Elf, to Percy being consistently let down by his dad in Chef. I think he portrays kids in a very realistic way.
I agree. I mean, the whole kids dynamics, family dynamics, it just feels real to me, you know, especially since we're in the middle of it. You know, if we had watched it when we didn't have kids, it's like, oh yeah, it's family dynamics. But just now where we're at.
This kid's hit right now.
Yeah,
us.
it hits, so I agree. He does that quite well, and he portrays it onto the screen excellent. So,
and then Billy, what do you think makes up the signature Favreau style?
Yep, I'm going to agree with you guys when it comes to family type of movies. Yeah, he's got the blockbusters, but he does so well writing conflict and love when it comes to families, kids especially. I agree with you guys on that one. He's really good at writing kids. I mean, you can feel that in Chef, the dynamic between the two. You can feel that in Zathura, between the brothers fighting. I mean, he's just, he's trying to capture that family feel movie from the 90s, and you can see that in his writing, you can see it in his directing. So that's, he's just really good at doing that. He's also good at humor. I mentioned that earlier, but you feel the laughter, you know what I mean, when he writes a good line and stuff. So yep, that's what I've got for that.
Well, then let me bring up another point here, because we've said a lot of positive things about him. His character development, his relationships between characters, his portrayal of kids, his kind of feel-good family movie vibes. One thing that we haven't touched on, he's also done 2 huge Disney properties in doing the live-action versions of The Jungle Book and The Lion King. Phoenix, I know how you feel in those films, so I'll give you a second before I unleash you. Billy, here's the problem that I ran into for the show, Billy. I don't know how to evaluate a director's role when literally everything is CGI. It's not like he was telling Simba where to stand or directing the monkeys in The Jungle Book. So what are your thoughts on Favreau's work in the big live action films? How do we evaluate the quality of his work on those films?
I don't know. I think we're going to all struggle on this one, because as a Disney kid growing up, I am not a fan of live action remakes of our famed animated movies from when we were kids. So I'm going to come into this on more of a negative than than a lot of people would. Some people like them. Me personally, no. But yeah, we can keep discussing that.
Well, even within the Disney live action remakes, there's different degrees of them, because we talked about Aladdin with the Guy Ritchie show, and Aladdin is different because Aladdin and Jasmine and the genie are all people, and the director's still directing those people. I don't know how to evaluate his work when literally everything is CGI outside of Mowgli.
Well, I know you need a director with cartoons, CGI and stuff, because you have to stay in control of the story and watch how they are. The animators, I think, I haven't done a whole lot of research, but when they draw and do facial expressions and do different things, he has to make sure everything flows correctly. So he's still somewhat in control of trying to watch and make sure things line up the way he wants it to line up. He still allows them to do the creativeness of the animation, but I think he still has to see the scene, and if he doesn't like something, he has to tell him to change something in the animation to what he wants it to be. So
that just feels like a completely different role than telling RDJ where to stand and how to interact with Gwyneth Paltrow.
It is different, and that's the hard part. But he still has to be the boss and be in control of how to give the film the feel that he wants to give on screen. So
yeah, well, it sounds like we're going to be sandbagging those live action films in our rankings.
Well,
before we get there.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask Billy. So you did not like the live action movies as much? Because it's just
Billy is shaking his head no for our audio listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry, probably. I am shaking my head no. And again, that's a personal preference. I also don't have kids, so I don't go for those movies right away when they come out. You know what I mean?
We'll see how kids impacted our ranking of The Jungle Book.
Well, it was hard to get through Jungle Book because Jungle Book was never one of my favorites as it growing up. I liked the 2 songs a lot. But
I mean, don't sandbank our rankings here, honey.
But no, I'm just saying in general, just talking about these films, because we're not going to talk about them. It's hard for me with the girls showing them these films, the live action version, because of my affinity for the cartoons, and I would prefer to show them the originals. But I don't know, seeing it live action Simba was never on my bucket list, and it's like it was decent and good, but it doesn't have the charm I feel like the animation did. So
I feel like it's a waste of a director, honestly, because
what do you
like
think? Yeah.
hey, think of Taika Waititi and the work that he did with his 2 Thor films, and like those films were exceptional because the director had some creative freedom to take Thor in a new direction, and it was colorful and full of life. Like these were like frame to frame remakes of the animated classics, and it's like it doesn't give a director any room to thrive, really. Like Favreau couldn't change the formula except changing the size of a monkey in the Jungle Book. Like the Jungle Book is still the Jungle Book, yo.
That's true. I mean, I can't remember much of Aladdin, but I think things changed a little bit here and there.
There were changes, but we generally liked it. I think we both kept our affinity for the cartoon, but accepted the live action Aladdin as its own thing.
Okay.
Whereas these, I don't feel like they're their own thing. I think it's just like computer lions as opposed to hand-drawn lions.
Okay.
So to quickly reiterate, what makes a Jon Favreau film? Strong character development. He has the capability to do big special effects films, but really it's the relationships between characters that we think is his defining characteristic. So to close out our show, we're going to create the definitive ranking of Jon Favreau films from worst to best. It's something we do on every one of our director shows. A quick rundown of the catalog again. We've got Made in 2001, Elf 2003, Zathura, A Space Odyssey, and A Space Adventure in 2005, Iron Man in 2008, Iron Man 2 in 2010, Cowboys and Aliens in 2011, Chef in 2014, The Jungle Book in 2016, and The Lion King in 2019. We'll each make our case for where each film should be, then we'll lock in a consensus pick before we move on. No filibusters, even when you guys bury timeless masterpieces like The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
You're not going to live that
You're
down,
never
are
gonna
you?
let that down.
Never, ever, ever. All right, so we start at the bottom of the list. Film, the ninth best or the worst Jon Favreau film is The Jungle Book. Because, like, I don't like The Jungle Book. I don't think a director brings anything new in a faithful recreation of an animated film to life. So for me, The Jungle Book was his worst film. But Phoenix, where did you come in?
I'm really muddled at the bottom. There's so many films that it's like, I'm really muddled. I
have an idea where this is going to go, and I don't think it's going to be my pick. But
no,
what is
I'm
yours?
thinking, Jungle Book, I don't really like the cartoon that much. And it was hard to watch the live action, especially with the change of the Monkey King, just making him this massive. It just was.
You didn't like the Monster Monkey King.
I did not. I thought it was silly and it was unnecessary. And I like when movies have songs in them. It's good to have people who can sing them well. And having Christopher Walken try to sing, it wasn't my favorite either. I mean, it's like, come on. It's a great song. I love the song, in ways because it's...
Yeah, it was iconic from the original film, and like they definitely tried to do something different with it in this film, and you're saying that it didn't hit for you.
It did not hit for me. Just Christopher Walken trying to sing that song was just like, oh, come on, man. Why couldn't we have someone that could actually sing this song? So
for me, it's The Jungle Book. For you, at this pick...
It's hard. I'm thinking Jungle Book is going to be at the bottom for me. I mean, I have my issues with Made, but overall... Well,
you're wrong in those issues. But we'll get there, hopefully, a little bit later.
Yeah, I think because I didn't like the film, it's at the bottom for me. So
Billy, what about you? What do you think is the worst Favreau film?
Jungle Book at the bottom. I gotta agree.
Oh, man! Sweep it! Jungle Book. I didn't think I was going to get that one. So then, Phoenix, what would be your next worst Favreau film?
Oh, you're asking me this?
Mm-hmm.
Next? I don't know.
Well, what's in contention at the bottom for you? Like, what do you view as his next worst films?
I mean, The Lion King, like you said, was
The Lion King?
I'm saying The Lion King is just a carbon copy in ways. It made some changes that were really hard for me, especially my favorite song, Be Prepared. It was a huge letdown for me because that's my favorite song in the whole movie.
Staying on a musical theme, they also paired an actor with one of the most talented vocalists in the world. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, Danny Glover and Beyonce.
And I thought Danny Glover did fine.
He did good. It's just...
Pairing him with Beyonce doesn't do him any favors.
It didn't seem like a good mix together, like the duet that you're supposed to have of two people.
Yeah, like either have like two regular people doing it or like two very talented vocalists.
Yeah.
Like to have one of each felt a little strange.
And, but... it was a huge letdown for Be Prepared because Jeremy Irons in the song is just, I mean, I'm hemming and hawing. Cowboys versus Aliens has not the unique Jon Favreau feel to it. Doesn't have a lot of the humor in ways in his films, but it's a decent movie.
So for you, you're looking at maybe Lion King, maybe Cowboys versus Aliens?
Or Made. I'm between those
Or
three.
Made. So Billy, what about you? What do you think is the next worst Favreau film?
It's gonna be it's gonna be The Lion King for me. That's
Oh.
just, again, it is. I don't like the cash grabs of live action remakes of films that were already great. You know what I mean? Because that's all I think it is. It's just a cash grab. It's Disney just going, well, this did well back in 1994. Let's see if we can do it again. Except this time, we're gonna be fully CGI or fully whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work for me. Like, you already did well. You release these films every 20 years as, oh, the new Blu-ray, oh, the new 4K, oh, the new stream, oh, the new blah. Like, you don't need to keep doing these films. Like, they're already great as is. So both of those are at the bottom of my list.
Well, we do need to come to a consensus before we move on. I'll say that I had The Lion King in the middle of the list, but I'm happy to sandbag it here.
Yeah, I am too.
So, Favreau sold his soul with his last two films, just doing straight-up cash grabs after his creative journey of chef. Interesting. So at number 9, we have The Jungle Book, and number 8, we have the live-action remake of The Lion King. So let's talk about real people. We have the Disney remakes completely out of the way. So now we're talking about some big-budget sci-fi films. We're talking about some lower-budget, like, character development films. Billy, what would you say is the 7th Jon Favreau film?
I am going to go with Cowboys versus Aliens as number 7.
And where did that film struggle for you?
I just didn't like it. Pure and simple.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into it just because I watched it once. I thought it was dumb, and that's it.
Well, I had...
I can talk so well about all the other movies, you know what I mean? But I remember watching Cowboys vs. Aliens just going, it's not hitting for me, man. Like, it's just not. So, and again, like, I know it was big budget. They tried really hard, but it just felt like it was one of those movies that you scroll past on Netflix and you're like, why the hell did they make that? You know what I mean? Like, you watch, like you see some, like, a movie like Sharknado, and you're like, okay, I get what they're going for here. It's going to be a spoof, silly thing. But Cowboys versus Aliens, like, they really tried to, like, make this, like, oh, this is going to be so cool. You know what I mean? Like, guys, are you ready for Cowboys versus Aliens? And it's like, no, this should have been on the same par as, like, Cocaine Bear and Sharknado. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me personally, again. So it was a real struggle for me. I watched it once. I don't think I will ever see it again.
And I agree with you with where it goes on the list, but I had a higher opinion of it. I thought, across the board, Favreau's films were a really high quality. There wasn't one that I thought was like a super clunker. My argument for Cowboys and Aliens would be that it's got great special effects. I really enjoyed the special effects. I like Daniel Craig's character. I also thought it had the worst character in any of his films with Harrison Ford's character. I just didn't buy him as like this criminal, like head of Yellowstone type rancher dude. Like, I didn't buy it. I didn't like that character. So for me, I'm also with Cowboys versus Aliens here. Phoenix, would you like to make a contrary point?
No, I'm just thinking about the films and the style that we've talked about his films. I feel like there's really not a lot of Jon Favreau's uniqueness in this film. Yes, the special effects, he can pull those off.
He's good with special effects.
Yes.
That's my takeaway.
But the character development, I don't think was as strong in this film.
Well, there was that weird alien. That was interesting.
Yeah, that's true. But so I agree with you guys. I think it's, if we're going off of sort of what his unique style and way he is directing and stuff like that, it doesn't have his signature stamp on it. I think it's one of his weaker films. So I agree where it is at.
All right, so lock it in. Cowboys versus Aliens. The number 9 film is Jungle Book. Number 8 is Lion King. Number 7, Cowboys versus Aliens. That puts me up to nominate the first film for this next spot at 6. And this is hard for me because I really enjoyed this film, but I've got Made here. Made is like a kind of wannabe mafia film. Jon Favreau's character is an up-and-coming dude in like this mafia family, and he's Got this anchor tied to his leg in the form of Vince Vaughn, who is his idiot buddy that he sticks with through thick and thin, but who keeps getting him in trouble on literally every step of the way. And like the crux of the film is like, how far would you go for your chosen family? Because like they're childhood friends, they have a history, and like how long will you support this deadbeat dude who's just sandbagging you at any corner? And I thought that was really interesting. It's hard for me to have the film here, but it is like, I would say, his worst film out of the things remaining.
Yeah, Maid isn't really... I had a hard time getting through the
You
film.
didn't like it.
Vince Vaughn, his character drove me nuts.
But that was the point. He was supposed to be this annoying idiot. And
he
like,
did it so well.
There were memorable scenes like him on the airplane with the stewardess. That will stay with me like forever.
Heavy just slapping his hands on. He was driving me crazy with the stewardess.
That's the point.
It's just like, but those type of films is just, sometimes I have a hard time with scenes like that because, I don't know, my empathy or whatever. It's just like...
You don't like uncomfortable scenes.
Yes, it is just... I had a hard time. But it's... Yeah, I mean, it's... I agree. I put it here at 6. And, you know, you can see his style coming out, the way he writes. And, but... Yeah.
He's gotten better at what he's done.
Yeah.
And like, I would maybe argue that he's better at films where he doesn't write, direct, and star in them. Like, I think that is
Chef, but...
a tall... Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking of the Iron Man films because, like, he just directed them. He didn't write them, and he didn't necessarily star in them.
Well, this is early on in his career, too, so...
Yeah, so he's gotten better at all aspects. Billy, what are your thoughts at the number 6 spot?
I am exactly where you guys are, Made, at number 6.
Did you enjoy the film, or did you dislike it? Because Phoenix and I are split. I really liked it. Phoenix didn't like it as much.
I'm indifferent. It's... I think they were looking at the dynamic between Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau from Swingers to see if they could do it again in Made. I just prefer Swingers over this one. It was just kind of like, oh, they just added a mafia aspect of it. You know what I mean? But it's like, you watch the film because you want to watch Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn go back and forth with each other. And I think Swingers just does a better job than that.
It's so much better. And like the first time I watched Made way back in the day, I hated it because like I love Swingers. I'm like, give me more Swingers. This isn't necessarily more Swingers. I'm like, oh well, that sucks. I just want more Swingers. Now watching it with Separation, I enjoyed Made much more watching it today. Anything else that we want to discuss with Made? One thing that sounds out to Made for me, like it's his only character failure with a child. Because like at the end of that film, Favreau's girlfriend is just like, well, you just take my child. If you care about her so much, you just take her. And he just does. And like, as a parent, I'm like, bull crap. Like, even if she is a waste of life, even if she's a bad person, a bad parent, I have a hard time seeing someone give up, like, their 8-year-old child. And, like, happy ending for the film, because, like, Favreau really wanted to be a dad, and he had this connection with his child, and the child clearly had a piece of crap mom, but, like, come on, man. Yeah. For someone who's great at doing kids, like, I feel like he really sucked, and maybe got so much blowback from that it made him focus on child relationships a lot more. So we'll lock in Made at number 6. So the films that we have left, I don't want to tip my list, but we have Elf, Zathura, Iron Man 2, and Chef. That's the films that we have left in chronological order. So Feeny, we are right at the tipping point, right in the middle of the list now. What is your nomination for the 5th best Favreau film?
This is hard for me because it's between Elf and Zathura.
Well, one of those films you liked, one of those films you didn't particularly like, if I can put words in your mouth.
Yes. I am not a Will Ferrell fan. I have a hard time with his movies.
I have said that I'm not a Will Ferrell fan, but I love his movies. I really enjoy his films. Movies, I don't like his sketch comedy, one iota.
But the only movie I like with Will Ferrell is Stranger Than Fiction.
What about the goods? He's like falling down. He's like, oh, there's that dildo again. Get that out of here. Like, that was a funny bit.
But, see, this is my tricky part. It's like, I can see why Elf is such a good film, why people love the film, why people love sharing the film for Christmas, because the way the film is done, the charm of Will Ferrell as a kid, and he does it beautifully. I have to give him credit. He does that whole child wonder just...
Which signifies good directing, right? Yeah. Like, it isn't all on the actor. Like, Favreau put him in that position and directed him to have that sense of wonder.
And so... I probably will have to put Zathura next because I can see if we're talking about Jon Favreau as a director, as ability to tell a story and bring his charm through the film, maybe I'll say Zathura for a fifth.
So Phoenix is on Zathura. Billy, what about you?
Well, guys, we are trending as the same this entire way through because, yeah, I had Zathura as my next one.
Well, I'm going to push Elf in this spot, actually. Elf was fine, and it had some funny bits, and I like Will Ferrell's character, Stranger in a Strange Land, like trying to understand how the real world works after being raised as a human in the North Pole. Like, interesting concept, but like a lot of the elements of that film fell short for me. Like the romance with Zooey Deschanel, although it turns out I do like her with blonde hair. That was an interesting look for her. But the romance fell short. The relationship with the dad was kind of silly. I like the relationship with the brother, but like, I don't know. For me, Elf fell short in several key aspects, where Zathura I thought was a much tighter package, and I liked with Zathura the relationships better, and I liked the special effects better. It's hard to make a one-to-one comparison there because like there are no special effects in Elf, so I can't sandbag that film. And I mean, honestly, for me, in my list, I had these films 2 spots apart. I had them at 4 and 6, so we're literally right in the middle of that spot. I don't care all that much. I'm just presenting a contrarian viewpoint. Did I sway either of you, or are we on Elf here?
I'm sorry. Nope, I'm not going to put Elf at this spot. Elf, I don't want to give away my list, but I have to put Zathura at this.
Well, we have to come to a consensus, but that being said, I'll also move to Zathura, A Space Adventure, at number 5. So we are at Jungle Book number 9, number 8, The Lion King, number 7, Cowboys vs. Aliens, number 6, Maid, number 5, Zathura, A Space Adventure. And I think we're up to Billy to nominate the next spot.
Yep, and like we always do when we get into the top 4, typically is where all 3 of us are going to start kind of our little snippets back and forth.
Let's get nasty, yo.
I like this. Okay, number 4. I'm putting Iron Man 2.
No, absolutely not.
There it is. Okay, see, I was waiting for the reaction. I was like, okay, pause for Tom. There it is.
Appreciate it. Why do you think that Iron Man 2 is the worst out of the remaining films? It's Chef, Iron Man 2, and Elf. You're really saying that Iron Man 2 is worse than Elf?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. 100%. Why do I put it that way? Because Iron Man 2, in my opinion, is a great movie. It's not a rewatchable movie. I could rewatch Iron Man 1 all over again. I could rewatch Chef, and I do rewatch Elf every single year. It has become a rotation on Christmas movies for me personally. It's something I can put on with the nieces and the nephews, and they love it just as much as I do. Iron Man 2, again, well, great, and that's why it's up in my top 4. For me, I chose that because of rewatchability. And so, going through the MCU saga and movies again, Iron Man 2, much like Thor and the Dark Elves, the second Thor film, while cool, just didn't hit it for me. So that's why I am putting Iron Man 2 at number 4.
And it feels like it's getting docked here for being a sequel as opposed to being a standalone thing. Let me push back on Elf. Like, I have Elf in this spot, so we are diametrically opposed here. What is it about Elf that is so captivating for you? What makes it such a strong film for you, Billy?
I think because they captured the Christmas feel extremely well. I grew up watching Christmas movies with my sister, with my parents, cousins, and you always have a rotation of those types of Christmas movies that you watch every single year. At least I do. And Elf captured that. They came out with so many movies Christmas-wise. They do every single year, but not all of them are going to be something that you can just go ahead and watch again and still love. Elf did that for me. That's why I'm putting Elf higher, is because of that feel of the warm and fuzzies when you're sitting watching with a cup of coffee a Christmas movie on a snowy morning. You can do that with Elf, and I love it. And so I'll tell it later when we talk about it, but that's why I ranked it higher than Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2, while great, and again, I apologize for repeating myself, rewatchability-wise, I'd rather go for a different movie than Iron Man 2. I'd rather watch Iron Man... Now, is Iron Man 2 better than Iron Man 3? Yes. But it's why I'm putting it at number 4, is because of rewatchability.
Well, these are collective rankings. We do have to come to a consensus, so no pressure, Phoenix, but you're kind of the tiebreaker here.
Oh man.
You are the tiebreaker, Phoenix.
So where's your head at with this spot? Like, what would you have considered his fourth worst film before you make a definitive ruling between Billy and me?
Well, the problem is just unfortunately my viewpoint of Will Ferrell. You know, there's some actors people don't like. I just have a hard time with Will Ferrell, and yeah, it's just I was going to put Elf because I don't think it's a movie I'm going to put on to rewatch because maybe we'll try it with the kids at one point, but it's just a film. It was fun to watch for the first time because this was the first time I've seen it, you know, because I just didn't really want to watch it. So it was fun. It was charming. I enjoyed the Christmas spirit and how they try to make it very special in this film through this story. And there's a lot of charm. You know, for me, it's Iron Man 2 and Elf are just interchangeable at this spot for me. So, you know, I guess I could go either way, you know. But...
Sure, and I feel like this is our last critical discussion point. I have a pretty good feeling how things are going to shake out above this point.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I had Elf ranked as my sixth lowest film. Billy, just how high on your list did you have Elf ranked? Was it your number one Favreau film?
No, not my number one. But Elf is in the top 3 for me. So I don't know how you want to go about discussing that, Tom, but yeah, it's higher than 4.
Yeah, and I feel like number 1 and number 2 are going to be the same for all of us. So like, how do we?
I'm not sure. I think 2 might be for
Interesting.
Billy. You know.
Interesting. Well, I mean, we could go with a simple tiebreaker with Phoenix. Like, if we're all dug in for the sake of conversation, maybe we do the 2 versus 1. Like, is there anything else that we want to debate between Iron Man 2 versus Elf? Like, I don't particularly feel like dying on a hill at this particular spot. Like,
yeah.
I loved Iron Man 2, but like, it feels like you guys didn't as much. So like,
Well, I mean, I loved it because you got Pepper Potts and Iron Man came together.
I loved it because it introduced Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow to the MCU, and I loved the way that they integrated her into that film before revealing who she was. Like, I really appreciated that aspect.
I mean, they did an excellent job with introducing her character, how they brought her in, and you had no idea where they were going to go with this character, Black Widow, and it was interesting how they were teasing future characters with this film. And, of course, Sam Rockwell is always entertaining, as always. But, you know, I'm fine with playing Iron Man 2 here because Elf is so widely popular and so charming for people that it's going to be one of the top films for a lot of people with Jon Favreau.
Well, it's not like when you guys sandbagged my beloved Man from U.N.C.L.E. and that was Guy Ritchie, right?
Yeah.
But I'll concede this one. Iron Man 2 is the 4th best Jon Favreau film. So now we have a top 3. The films that we have left in chronological order are Elf, Iron Man, and Chef. For me, at this 3rd spot, I had the original Iron Man film. I actually had Iron Man 2 at number 2. So, like, for me, this would probably be Elf because I had it further down the list. But if either Elf or Iron Man for me.
Oh, Elf for me. So as far as I'm...
Elf. Yep, I'm going to go Elf at number 3.
Okay, so easy discussion there. We've talked about Elf quite a bit. Interesting character-driven Christmas film. So that leaves us 2 films left. Chef versus Iron Man. Like, isn't this like the core of movie debates? Like, we have 2 films that are very similar, and like we can just compare them head to head and be like, well, which one has the better effects? Which one has the better character development? Which one has like the hotter women that Favreau is hooking up with? So like, which one of those aspects do you want to dive into, honey?
Number 2 is Iron Man for me.
Number 2 is Chef for me.
What? No way. Get out of town, Billy, because like number 2 was Iron Man for me as well. Like, no way, dude.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
given your
like
affinity,
No, this is great.
given your affinity for food industry films, I cannot believe that Chef is not number 1 for you, my friend.
And I highly debated it. This was go back. Do you know how many times I cut and pasted Chef and Iron Man on my list that I made? But I fully came down to, while I love restaurant industry and food films, I like superheroes more.
And like,
So I went with the love of reintroducing superheroes and those types of movies and making them popular with the public. I went with it, and Iron Man completely just blew everything out of the water when it came to the love that we had as nerds. And again, I discussed this earlier, so again, I won't continue on with something I already talked about. But that's why I put it there. Chef is so good because it's his independent film. He got to break away from the big blockbusters and do something that he loved. But man, did he just hit it with Iron Man. So yeah, I got to put it at number 1.
Well, Iron Man I think is interesting. It has a place in cinematic history because it did launch the MCU, which made billions of dollars for Disney and made some rich people very rich. And like the impact that it had on the cinematic industry is undeniable. Because like if that film had flopped, there is no MCU as we know it. But comparing it like head to head to Chef, like I just felt like Chef was a more like grounded personal tale, and that Chef resonated a lot more with me as like a human being, and like thinking about the relationships that we manage every day and the careers that we manage every day. Like it felt like such a accurate snapshot of life that like it really grabbed me. And I thought that Chef was on a plane that none of the rest of the films even touched. Outside of like the live action remakes, I thought his films were consistently really good, but I thought Chef was just on another plane from everything else. Phoenix, what is your response to our debate with between 1 and 2 here?
Well, I think this is a hard choice because you have 2 really good films here at 1 and 2.
And very different.
And very different.
It's not a one-to-one comparison,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it hard. And so like
Oh, it's not. Yeah.
taste comes into this, and taste is subjective.
It is.
And like for me, Chef hit me in the feels, and like I freaking loved it, man. Like it is the most I've loved a Favreau thing since Mikey and Swingers, and like it taps into that nostalgia, which isn't a fair criteria point. But I'm a human being. I have biases, and my biases says Chef is the best film.
I love my indie films. I love,
It feels like there's a big butt coming here.
No,
honey.
I'm just saying. It's just thinking about this. I do enjoy, from my personal taste, films like Chef. That are they surprise you. You like to watch them again, and as far as rewatchability, it's hard to say because both of them are so good. I didn't think I would enjoy watching the first Iron Man again because it's like
Neither did I, because Iron Man's a dork.
but it was really good, and it's hard to say I would like to watch it again because RDJ is just brilliant in that role, and I love his character, how he portrays it. And so it's really hard to, these 2 are just hard to.
And I think it's interesting that you're struggling here. I think back to our Clerks discussion and how much you loved the original Clerks film because it was a snapshot of real life in that convenience store. And like, it feels like that held a lot of value to you. I feel like Chef is a similar thing, maybe not as accurate in portraying day-to-day life of a chef and food truck, but like I thought it was in a similar vein. So I'm a little surprised that these films are as close for you.
Well, I do love my big blockbuster action films. I mean, I love, what's his name, who does those films,
Disaster movies?
Yeah, disaster movies, Independence Day. Ron, I can't remember his name, but
Howard?
no.
Burgundy?
No.
I don't know any more Rons. That's literally the end of my joke.
I'm trying to remember his name, but anyways, I love my big disaster blockbuster films because just they're fun to watch. But yeah, I think Chef is going to be probably number 1 for me because the charm of it. I really enjoy the charm and the dynamics, and I knew going into the film I would probably like this film, but I didn't realize how much I'd like this film. And it's
I was worried I was going to hate it with a burning fiery passion.
So yeah, I think Iron Man 2, for personal subjective, that's my opinion. So
You thought that Iron Man 2 was the best film?
number 2 spot.
Okay, sorry. Confusing when we have Iron Man, the second spot, and Iron Man 2 all kind of jumbled together.
It is true. And you know what? I've got to say that I'm happy to concede Iron Man and Chef as like flip-flopping those because, again, like I said, I was copying and pasting on where I wanted number 1 to be because they both hit great. I think putting Chef as number 1 is completely fine because I think having him do Iron Man helped him make Chef, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
Well, yeah,
he got his name out there in a huge way, and so he could get the budgeting that he could to make something passionate for himself. And so totally fine, not even debating this with you guys, putting Chef as number 1, because again, I was struggling myself. So yeah, if you guys want to throw Chef as number 1 and Iron Man as number 2, like, I'm in it, dude. I'm locked in.
All right, then we're locked in. Here's the definitive ranking of Jon Favreau films from worst to best. Number 9, The Jungle Book. Number 8, The Lion King. Number 7, Cowboys vs. Aliens. Number 6, pleased that it made it this high up the list, Made. Number 5, Zathura, A Space Adventure. Number 4, Iron Man 2. Number 3, surprised that it made it this high up the list, Elf. Number 2, Iron Man. And number 1, Chef. The definitive ranking of Jon Favreau films. Is there anything else you guys want to get off your chest about this director and his feature films?
Well, I was just going to ask, like, he has also made himself very well known with The Mandalorian, you know. You know, I don't know if you've seen much of The Mandalorian, Billy, but it's unique how he has found himself in these positions, like starting the MCU and then...
Well, like, he's gotten in good with Disney, and, like,
Yeah.
you know, they took a big swing on him with Iron Man. Like, there was a lot riding on that film. And, like, I don't mean that to be hyperbolic. Like, if that film fails,
Yeah.
maybe all the other, like, core Avenger films get scrapped and we never see the Avenger films.
But I think, wasn't the series The Mandalorian one of the very first Star Wars series to come out? Was he, like...
Well, I mean, there were certainly cartoons and miniseries before
Disney
then.
with their relaunch of trying to...
Yeah, with Disney Plus, I think it was
Yeah.
pretty early on. It'd be interesting to know how The Mandalorian shaped the future of Disney Plus.
Because after The Mandalorian, you start having more Star Wars TV shows. I don't know if Mandalorian was the first, and they wanted to test the waters with it. And of course, Jon Favreau being Jon Favreau, it was an extreme hit. But it is... He does seem to like to do things that are different, and I just... If people haven't seen The Mandalorian, they should. I know it's not a movie, but it's like...
Here's me getting up on a soapbox. Here's something that I just have to unload off my chest. Like, I want to know who at Disney made the choice to intertwine The Mandalorian with the Book of Boba Fett so intently, because, like, Favreau wrote both. He's responsible for both. And, like, so I'd like to see the Book of Boba Fett, but what they did was they take a chunk of The Mandalorian and they stick it in the Book of Boba Fett. So, like, you're watching The Mandalorian and all of a sudden you get to another episode, it's like, where the frick are these guys? What is happening? This doesn't make any sense. It's like they were here, now they're somewhere else doing something else. And they're like, I gotta watch the Book of Boba Fett. I appreciate a good crossover, all right? But, like, a crossover can exist without derailing the existing property and, like, taking you out of your sense of immersion with it and dumping the main character somewhere else.
No, I agree with that.
I have to assume that Favreau didn't do that to us.
I don't know.
So some executive at Disney, I hate you with a burning fiery passion. Billy, was there anything else you wanted to express about director Jon Favreau and his feature films?
I'm excited to see what he keeps doing. You know what I mean? To go off of Phoenix's point, I loved The Mandalorian. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so The Mandalorian was a great show in itself. Favreau did great. I know he wrote some of the episodes, he directed most.
And, like, he's the executive producer, so, like, he is the mind behind the entire intellectual property.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think from a, The Mandalorian is here because we had Boba Fett in the old movies, and he wasn't even a big character in those. And so
he certainly was not an impactful character.
Yeah, but he was, like, well beloved to the super nerds of Star Wars. They love Boba Fett
because he had cool looking armor.
Yeah, he was basically, and so to create this entire universe off of one character was really great. And now I don't get into the lore of Star Wars like a lot of people do, like the books and stuff. Unfortunately, I have not read yet, so please take what I say with a grain of salt because I could be incorrect. But just having The Mandalorian come on the screen was fantastic. I think it revived a lot of love for Star Wars because some of the newer movies and what they've done with Star Wars kind of left a little sour taste in some people's mouths. So I think a story like The Mandalorian, where we specifically on like a Skywalker saga, was a nice breath of fresh air. So I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, Rey as a Skywalker, my ass.
So anyway, yeah, that's what I feel about The Mandalorian. As far as anything else Jon Favreau does, I'm really excited to see what he continues to do. He's clearly blowing up with Disney, which means he's got a lot of money in the back of his pocket that he can do some really cool stuff with. He can clearly do great things like with Chef and whatnot. The Jungle Book and The Lion King, I think that's just Disney putting Jon Favreau's name on things, and so you're going to have that happen with any director. You know what I mean? You can see that with anybody that we've talked about in the past. When you've got a big budget that is behind them, they can make some good bangers, they can make some real crappy stuff at the same time. So yeah, I think it'll be cool because he's really in his prime right now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what else he does as an actor. Like, I really, again, Swingers, it's Mikey. It's forever Mikey for me. I like him on the screen, and like, it would be interesting to see what he can do without the pressure of also writing, directing, and like being if he could just be an actor in something, I'd be really interested to see how that. And he probably has a huge acting catalog that I just haven't pursued because I don't watch movies.
Well, it'll be interesting because with the new Spider-Man movie coming out, I know Happy is not supposed to remember him, but so is he completely out of that film this time, or do you
He'll
think
probably be the connective tissue that brings everyone important back into Peter Parker's life?
you think
That's
so?
my call.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be interesting because now they're bringing Punisher in, which,
Yeah, they bring the Punisher in, babe.
but it's just like
It looks so cool.
I know it's like it'll be interesting how dark this film could get, or if they can toe the line with the Punisher without making it too dark, because the Punisher TV shows and Daredevil are pretty R-rated dark shows.
I mean, they missed the ball with the last Spider-Man film. They should have killed Peter Parker. I'm ready for Peter Parker to die so that Miles Morales can rise in a cinematic format, in a live-action cinematic format. Like, they had the perfect setup at the end of the Mysterio one. They should have killed Peter then. So, like, I'm hoping that this is where I get some sort of beloved send-off for my favorite character.
And bring in Miles as the next
And
one.
bring in Miles as the next one. And then let's bench Peter Parker for 20 or so years and, like, explore the rest of the Spider-Verse with all the other characters that can shine.
Yeah, Spider-Gwen would be great to see on screen.
Hell yeah, it would. That does it for our episode on director Jon Favreau. Next month, Casey, Phoenix, and I will cast a line and reel in some of the best fishing board games currently on the market. In this same podcast feed, we'll drop part 2 of our game club discussion on the second half of Hollow Knight Silksong, my favorite game of all time if you listen to the first episode, in the middle of the month. Play it with us and share your thoughts on the OiO Discord. Thank you for listening. Please review us on your favorite podcast platform and support our show on Patreon at patreon.com/OiO. Help me get some cough medicine, yo. For Billy and for Phoenix at Phoenix Sidlogic OiO, I'm Tom Sidlogic at Tom Sidlogic OiO. We'll talk to you next month. Stay inside, kids.
Okay, bye.